afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is in your hood. I am absolutely Adia.
I'm your girl, Ashley Nicole.
On the franchise.
And this is The Quad, season 2.
Season 2.
Yeah, we made it.
Bitches.
You bitch.
I had to
We
say, I'm
made
sorry.
it.
It's going to be explicit, so we
It
might as well come out
is.
with
It's
Yeah,
going
we'd
down
like
like
to
that.
inform our listeners that season 2 may be a little more explicit
A little
than
bit
season
more.
A lot
1.
more
It's
dopeness.
okay.
maybe.
Just clutch your pearls and hold on. It's gonna be a little
Real
bumpy
tight.
ride. Well, we have a self-described film and music snob in the building. Chris Terry is an artist who is committed to creating exciting cinematic experiences and soul-moving sounds. I like that.
All the S's.
Make
He
you
has
feel like
spent the last 14 years creating film and music production and is currently most passionate about the work he's doing with some exciting new collaborators. So he is an actor, musician turned director, cinematographer, and score composer. Chris has developed a unique perspective when it comes to all aspects of filmmaking, influenced by Spielberg. Hey, Spielberg is... We have the same birthday.
Oh, wow.
Shout out to
That's
Spielberg.
what's
And Pharrell, he aspires to revolutionize both industries in the next stage of his career. So I met Chris at SCAD. We went to SCAD together. Shout out to
Indeed.
Savannah College of Art and
Savannah.
Design.
Yep.
We're
Paula
going to be
Wallace,
paying
I
them
want my
back
money back.
until
You know.
until
I
Jesus
want my
come
money,
back.
Paula.
But I know you graduated in 2005 with a Bachelor of Arts in Film and Television.
Correct.
So let's just jump right in. Tell everybody how you became passionate about like film and television. And
I always have been. I think it started actually. I think because why I like martial arts so much, which is something that I also really like. I think one of the first movies I saw was Enter the Dragon. So
Bruce.
yeah, Bruce. And
Shout
so
out to Brucey.
immediately I was like, I like the martial arts, but I just like the movie itself, and I'm like, I just wanted to be in that. And for the longest time, like acting was my first thing. It wasn't necessarily filmmaking. So I'd have to say that kicked it off. And music wise, that's always been there. My dad always had records. I always had a little record player he would get us. So I had a Thriller record and
Thriller.
Earth, Wind and Fire
MJ.
and all this good stuff. So yeah.
Oh.
Now
That's
you
all.
see, my mom had 45s when Aretha Franklin passed. I was listening to like Tidal had a shout out to Tidal.
Tell
Yeah.
it.
They had a playlist of
But y'all
Aretha
on
Franklin.
that? Y'all with the title wave?
Yeah, we went to
Okay.
Tidal. We went to Tidal Wave.
Okay, I didn't
And,
know. I see
um,
y'all everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
It's like that.
Pretty much. Season 2.
we used to listen to
Season 2, there we go.
the 45s,
Uh-huh.
like
Yeah, the
back in the
45s,
day. So
the
it
little
just
joints.
brought back those.
Well, you know what I used to
memories.
do? I used to listen to the 45s on 33 though. You know what I'm saying?
I used to
Oh,
do
with
that
the-
too.
yeah, yeah.
Hey, in Texas, well, you know what it is. You know what it is.
Right, chopped and screwed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Talking about we're not living
Right.
off the wall.
I was like, yo, that's
Be
like
like,
kind of
what?
fresh. That was the
Well,
original chopped and
y'all was
screwed.
screwing it up.
For
That's
real.
original.
Back in the
But it's
80s.
always
original
dope. It's
topic.
always dope that way.
Yes, music.
That's dope. So, okay, so you got your degree in 2005. So, what have you been doing since then?
Since then, it's just been, music production on, various people's records. It's been mostly, I'd say, like hip hop and pop, but I've been trying to branch out and collaborate with other people. Had a film company. Shout out to Justin, Kenny, Jamal, all
Yes.
those guys.
Shout out to you.
New Atlanta Films. That was like the first company we established. So we started out, doing our own films and doing short films, and then we started doing corporate films for other people, like whatever we could do. So that's kind of how we cut our teeth on everything.
Okay.
And and since then it's just been the same thing. The score composition stuff has kind of been just a recent development, which is I was in orchestra for like a long time. This guy was in there with me too. So during
Wow.
school, so
Okay.
I played first violin, so I was always in that. And but so I always wanted to do that, and I finally got the opportunity to do that on a couple projects. And so now that's something now that I'm I've just been able to work on more. And so that's pretty much what's been going on.
Yeah, so I know, like you mentioned, Justin and Kenny, 15 Studios. So you guys kind of started in college, and then it turned
that
into
was
like a
straight
real...
up. Especially me and Justin. I know that was definitely one of the brainchild with us. You know what I'm saying? Because we were just thick as thieves in the film class. It was always me and him on the projects, and then it kind of bled out. After school, and we're like, we just need to put this together. We we went from Savannah to Atlanta, and we're like, let's just do this, like for real. And which they are still doing it, man. And there's some great new stuff coming, man. Still working with them, and
Yeah, I know the biggest, well, I would say the most popular or most acclaimed film that you guys worked on together the last time, that was with Tommy Ford from Martin's that recently passed away. That was
rest in peace. His final
his
project.
last project that he worked on.
Yeah.
And it was about like
domestic
violence.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you did the sound design.
Or the score. Yeah, just the original score for it. And so I was blessed that they asked me to do that because, it ended up airing on Aspire TV, the network during the David Banner. He has a segment, independent filmmakers and stuff. So I'm like, dang, first score I did is on TV. So,
right.
that was definitely a blessing.
Yeah.
It's also encouraging, because Justin would tell me, he was listening to the picture lock and seeing it, and then when they were screening it at different theaters before it ever got on TV, and so he would be like, the reaction to everything, how it sounds, people like how it sounds, and I was like, okay, that's encouraging for me. I'm like, okay, people think it's cool, so I want to continue building on that.
In reference to just building on it, like you said, did you think, because right now you do a little bit of directing, you do acting, you do the score. When you came into this and you had this interest, did you think that you had one particular lane and then everything else opened up, or what was your vision about what your contribution was going to be to this field?
I didn't know. I just knew that I liked a lot of stuff, and I saw that I had like potential talent in a lot of things. But as far as I think developing all those talents is one thing. So I spent a lot of time just working on trying to get directing and cinematography and all that stuff together. And then when I found, I could be good at this too, and just kind of adding things on as I found that I could develop them. In the beginning I didn't know. I was kind of like whatever I can get,
you can do.
Whatever I can, kind of really cultivate and make something of that was whatever that was going to be. That's going to be the first thing that I'll push for. But I've just been fortunate. I've kind of been able to dabble in all of it, in various projects, So.
Was there one, because I remember I heard you talking about the martial arts interest and the hip hop influence. I remember just like when the Wu-Tang came out and like J. Rue the Damager, I remember like, when they married hip hop and martial arts together, I was like, oh my, this is me.
Perfect combo.
I'm telling you, it just goes
kicking
so well
ass
together.
and spinning beats and whipping ass to beats. It's just like it's the perfect combo.
It just goes together perfectly.
Exactly.
So when you were, at what stage of your life did you just see these things align together? Like, this is what I'm gonna be doing one day.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I actually started listening to like rap or hip hop kind of late. I mostly listen to soul records and R&B, and I think the first rap album that I ever heard that I was really in tune with, and my friends will attest to this, is Bone Thugs. They're still like one of my favorite groups to this day.
Wake up.
Exactly.
The first
of the month.
Hey.
Yeah, so that I got into that because it was melodic. It was like they're like the Temptations of rap. You know what I'm saying? So I got into it, and then I started listening. I listened to every album late. I came in like Blueprint 2 is one of my favorite, like the full thing, not 2.1. And people are like, "What? Like you don't like Reasonable Doubt or the first Blueprint?" And I'm just like, I'm a production head though, so I like that solely because there was so much music and so much dope production, like. And Timbaland and Pharrell, like two of my favorite producers, so there was a lot of that on that album. So I was just like, "This is heaven." Yeah.
So how does that play into your job to put because I feel that the sound design is such a serious task because it evokes emotion in the film and it plays into the scene. It elevates it to another level.
Absolutely.
I did a project one time at Tulane on the sound design for Kill Bill. And how at every pivotal moment in the movie, the sound just escalated it. And you can, even songs now that you might hear that sample different stuff, it'll take you back to that moment that you saw it in the movie.
Yeah.
And you know, even if you think of your favorite movie, I bet it's a song
There's a
somewhere
song
in there that's
associated.
associated with it.
Definitely.
So what's your inspiration when you're watching and you have to put a sound to a scene? Like, walk us through that process.
It kind of goes like this. It depends on what the scene is, you know, and there's different ways to score a scene. Sometimes, depending on what's playing out, you might not want to have, like, you know, some grandiose theme. Maybe it just needs to be almost just sound design. Like, you know, as far as, you know, you hear a score, it's not necessarily melodic, but you just hear kind of this moody stuff and sounds, clanks will come in and electronic stuff. Maybe it just needs to be that and not a theme until it's needed. And that's another thing, like subtlety, even with acting or anything else, like subtlety is super important. That's why if you see a scene and you blow it out with like some grandiose theme that doesn't, you know, actually play to the scene, then you ruined it. So you have to be in tune, with the director and even the sound designer who's doing the other effects and stuff, and figure out, okay, how does this score play into that? Or do we even need a score at this part of the scene? Because sometimes, you know, and I've made extra tracks. You know, every composer goes through that. You'll make a whole bunch of music and then it'll be like, well, we don't actually need that for this scene. We just don't need that. But you don't know that until you do it.
You watch
and it's
it.
like, okay. Or then you'll watch it and then you'll be like, well, we do need something here. So then you gotta, you know, run and make something and see how it fits. So it's just a give and take kind of process. You know, once you kind of assemble a rough cut and you get a vibe, a rhythm to how everything's playing out, then you can figure out, okay, where do we need music and where don't we need music? And that's like always the biggest struggle. And then on top of that, you know, being a composer is kind of stressful because it, you know, in your head, you might have the idea, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this and it's going to be this. And they'll be like, no, I don't like that, you know. So you got to go back to the drawing board and you're like, damn, okay. But, I mean, that's the thing. You always have to work with a director. It's not really up to you, you know, what you want to do. And hopefully you have a director that likes your work and wants to work with you. But that's not always the case. They might just want you to be like, yo, you know, this is some esoteric shit. So basically, I'm just giving you three nails at different heights, and you're hitting it with hammers. I need you to make that sound good for the film. Like, and you might just have that, and you have to make something happen. Like,
Denzel.
I saw that, right?
No, hey, that's gonna be on the next.
Yeah.
I've been told that for years. I need to get into that. I'm like, okay.
Well, coming from the fashion background and doing costume design, that was to me like a labor of love, because we spent so much time before you even got into the stage play or the movie of studying the characters, knowing the character, knowing their disposition and figuring them out as a person, even though they're a figment.
Right.
What they will wear, how they would sit, how that would sit. Like for costume design, it's all about each character. And even
functionality, right? Because even if they're going to wear something.
Right.
Right.
How they're going to move in it, how it's going to sit, how it's going to reflect the lighting. And I know... it's the same for sound design. So how much time do you spend scoring, like for one film or one project?
That also depends on the length of the project and how much music is needed for it. That's really what makes it, you know, and depending on how complex it needs to be. If it's just like kind of like a, you know, like a short, like a little urban thing where they don't want the score too overstated and just kind of keep it mellow in a way that maybe they just want some road keys and a little light drum, you know, something like that, a vibe. Then you might not spend as much time on that as you would like scoring something epic. You know, I'm about to work on my first animation, like a CGI animation for a Nigerian animation company that's coming up.
I saw that.
But that, you know, that's gonna take, you know, epicness. You gotta have strings and cellos and horns and figure out in other sound design. So that takes longer, obviously, because you gotta do a lot more composition with that versus. I mean, and subtle things can take a long time too. Because there's sound design involved with that as well. You know, it's just it just depends, project to project.
And I know you mentioned Pharrell as being one of your inspirations. I think NERD has done some of the most creative production. Like, Gwen Stefani, you hear like babies in the background, and, like all kind of stuff, cheese grater, kitchen utensils. So do you like literally go around and see like what makes this sound? Like how do you incorporate
everything
sounds?
Everything has a texture. I mean, just you hear it every day. You know, you hear like a bird or something. They're doing something in the rhythm. I heard that the other day. You just hear like a hoo hoo hoo. I'm like. Okay. And I'm like, that could be on a track. That's how it happens. That's how it happens. You know what I'm saying? So it could be any. Yeah, it's just how creative.
You taking walks down the trail,
right?
Dancing to the birds.
Yeah.
No, I'm it's coming, man. Y'all gonna hear it's gonna be a hit.
Right.
Chris Brown singing that. Shout out to the Ravens.
That's how it starts.
Yeah.
That's how it starts.
Ravens.
Speaking of inspiration, when you said it, just like you made right now about the sound, and you said at the beginning that you really didn't know what you were going to do in this particular industry. As far as inspiration, is there anything outside of your everyday routine of being a composer that you do, whether it's going to short film festivals? I was just at the Fort Worth Indie Festival, so I really enjoyed those. I was volunteering. So being able to just really see how, even the short films are powerful. And just hearing the process of the directors, how they write. Do they start backwards? Some write from the song backwards, some write from the beginning to the end. Right. So what's your process when actually writing?
It's just anything that kind of inspires me. You know, I'll see stuff. I'll read a news article. I just spend a lot of time with Mike actually just watching movies. Like our favorite stuff.
Shout out to Mike.
Right. Shout out to Mike in the building.
In his piece.
In the building, yes.
Best friend up in here. But yeah, man, like it's just it's just whatever inspires me. But I do watch a lot of movies, listen to a lot of scores, and just I do a lot of reading as well. That's a lot of things that inspire me. You know, I read a certain story that's interesting, or it could be, anything. Right. But if it inspires me, then that's what gets the gears going. You know what I'm saying? It could be anything. It could be looking outside and just seeing a dope-ass colored sky one day, and you'd be like, there's a story behind that.
Yeah.
There's a story behind everything.
So,
it is, definitely.
That's fresh. So you actually do, I was going to kind of piggyback off of Miss Adia's question, because I was wondering about with the sound design, how much of the sound effects is incorporated with that. So you do the score, you do the sound effects as well?
Well, that's kind of like a different thing. There is, depending on the score, you might put some sound effects in there, but typically, as far as score sound design, it's more just textures and sound. If you might have a clang of something and kind of tweak it and mix that with some electronics and some pads and so, but as far as score sound design, it's more, audio effects, but not like sound effects. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
it sounds,
tones and basses and electronics and.
Yeah, it sounds like what you're describing is like very technical. So
it is.
Are you able to, when you watch a movie or when you hear a score, are you able to really just appreciate it without critiquing it?
I can't.
Right. I was
people don't like watching movies.
Are you studying the?
They tell me. Hello, man.
Like what they should have done.
You can't watch a movie with him because he pays attention to all the details.
Right. Yeah.
And he gets really frustrated if you don't pay attention to the details. And you know how much I'm in my phone. Like and I'll be in my phone and like paying attention, but I'll be in my phone.
And I'm over here like.
And he was like, "But you just missed it."
Right.
And I'm like, "I didn't. I was watching. I saw
who did the backflip then? And who did the backflip?
See?
Was it a somersault?
Since you watching.
I was like, you know what? It's time for me to go.
Well, I wonder about that because I mean, everything that you're describing is very, very technical, and it's clear that attention to detail is a trait.
She's right. My mom is the worst. I can't watch movies with her. She'll just get up and walk in a different room talking about, I'm watching. Mom, no, you're not.
You're missing because it's like all
away.
The nuances, every detail.
Yeah. Right.
Like you are lasered in.
I remember one time in college, I had a whole bunch of people like over at my apartment. I was trying to show them a DVD, and they weren't like watching it. So I got up and I just took it out. I was like, "We ain't watching it."
Right, so y'all not gonna appreciate this.
Right.
You laughing, but he does this shit in the movies.
I believe it.
We went to go see, not Insurgent. What's the sequel to Insurgent? Divergent.
Yeah.
It was trash, right? It was honestly trash. But I really liked the first one. I didn't know the second one was gonna be trash.
Right.
So, you know, it's based on the books and shit.
Yeah.
So we go to the movie. This motherfucker in the theater yelling. For real, Dia? For real? You just see that shit? That didn't even make no sense. I was like,
called you
yeah.
out.
He like yelling in the theater. I was like, for real? This what we doing?
We ain't doing those in here.
Hey, I'm passionate,
Okay.
man. I'm passionate.
Hey,
Let me
help that. It
hit
makes
that
you
church
great.
finger.
It makes you great. It makes you great. Oh,
Man,
man.
this first half went crazy
Man.
It
fast.
did.
Real
It
quick,
did.
real
man.
quick.
Crazy fast.
Yeah.
Well, hang around. We're going to pay some bills and we'll be right back with Chris Terry.
It's quiet.